Okay, this is the beginning of my engine run stand project. This is a 79 Trans Am, and I'm building a 403 Olds, the original K motor that was in this car. But I'd like to run the motor before I put it in the car because the car is obviously not ready for prime time. So, alright, let's continue on with the stand. Alright, this is the 403, it's done. And it looks a little different than stock, I'm sure, but I used number 4 1967 heads on it, so it boosts the compression up quite a bit, probably around 9.8 to 1. Ceramic headers. We'll see what happens. Alright, there's the stand. I'm starting on it over here. I'm using products that I have around the house. I'm using an old deck that I had, 4x4. It's all pressure treated, so it's not rotted. It should be able to handle the weight. It's not that heavy. Alright, that's the beginning of the stand. We'll see what happens. Hope this works. Alright, haven't gotten too far. Things are in position, but way too far, way too high. I'm gonna have to drop things down here. So a lot of adjustments gonna go on here. This is not the finished product by far, but when it's done, it should all line up and be no interference, and then we'll get to the wiring. And this is pretty basic stuff. Little pieces of metal I bought at Home Depot. Box of lags. 4x4 with a bolt through it, the mount bolt going through it, drilled through. Pretty basic stuff. It should be a budget project. Alright, we've pretty much figured out where the radiator is going to land and where the engine needs to be on the blocks. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and put the metal braces on the blocks, both sides. Four different places. After that's done, we're going to brace the engine mount support this way and this way. Hand me a couple of straight ones. And then we're going to strap the front this way and the back like that. That will give us 4 metal straps on the base for the motor mount support. And I'll have to figure out something back here to clear the headers. But that's where we are so far. So it's coming. Alright, we've got a little ways here. We have all the 4x4s strapped down to each other with my little Home Depot steel brackets. By the way, these are flat and I bent them because the angled ones cost almost 3 times as much as these straight ones, and then you just put them in a vise and bend them. They're the same thickness, so you don't lose anything. The hoses now are going to land in the right place for the radiator. We extended the 4x4s out about 3 1/4 of an inch so that the radiator will have a little ledge on it to sit there with no interference. It's coming. Haven't spent a bunch of money on it. Probably a one-shot deal. I do have a Chevy motor that I want to try on it, so I may have to adjust it for the Chevy motor, but because the Olds and Chevy are 2 different animals. That's for sure. I found that out. This is the best part about an Olds. the spark plugs are above the headers instead of coming down into the headers. They sit above the exhaust manifolds on Oldsmobile, which is great. You don't have to worry about frying your wires. And generally speaking, Oldsmobile motors make more power than Chevrolet, so we'll see. Alright, I'll get back. Now what I'm going to do here is we're going to tie in the motor mount 4x4s to the cross member 4x4s. That's next. Okay. Alright, we're kind of getting there a little bit. Started to get the brackets here on the engine mount supports. It's pretty basic. A few 4x4s, some brackets, and a box of 1-inch long 1/4-inch lag bolts that I just ran out of, so I'm not quite done lagging this down yet, but we're getting closer. Pretty soon we may have a winner. Alright, checking out. Alright, well, I got one rear support bracket on. Just using basic angle iron that I had laying around. Cut a piece that way. Drill the clearance hole for the cap screw. Bolt onto the block. Nothing serious. The header just clears it, so we're good. This side will be a little more interesting. I'm going to have to come off of the side of the beam up to that hole, probably. Yeah, I'll probably go to that one. But it's a straight line shot. I just need to make a spacer in between. Not too difficult. Takes a little time, but I haven't spent a lot of money, so it's kind of a budget deal. Might be interesting. And the more I look at it, I may have been able to not use that bottom piece altogether. The bottom 4x4. I may have been able to just use the cross piece and the two long pieces with the wheels under the cross pieces. But at least this way it'll sit up a little higher, but I don't think I needed to do that. But I'm kind of glad I did. Alright. Alright, I've got the two rear brackets done now. Just out of angle iron I had laying around. This one I had to make a spacer for. Because of the throw on the starter would have interfered with it. So I made a spacer to pull it out about 1 3/4 inches. That clears everything. Then I had to lag it in down here, and I had to put a spacer behind that to block up on the wood, or else I was going to have too much interference on the header. But that'll work fine. This is just a run stand. This is not rocket science. That's that one. That's that one. Now, I should be able to take it off of the cherry picker, and it should stand alone. That way I can roll it into the other garage and put my car back in here. Alright, we will carry on. Hey Motorheads, I'm back. Alright, had to make a few modifications, add a few brackets. What I said earlier about leaving that last 4x4 out, Don't do it. Leave it in. Because it sags in the middle. I didn't think it would, but it does. So, this is what I got now. The extra supports across the middle. No drastic changes. I added a heavier brace on the outside of the motor mount support. Double brackets at the end on the bottom because it seemed like it wanted to twist. So that'd be safe than sorry. And I couldn't believe that it was sagging in the middle. But that's a lot of weight, I guess. Probably over 400 or around 400 pounds. It definitely was stressing out those 4x4s. So I added the third 4x4 right across the middle where the mount brace goes. And I'm totally confident now that there will not be any issues with support. Next, I'm going to figure out what to do with the radiator. I've got the height right. Let's see. What else can I tell you? Oh, the back braces came out really good. They were simple. I just had to make a little space with that. I think I already mentioned it. To push it away from the header. No big deal. It was easy. It's been a fun project so far. I've never done anything like this before. And I'm a machinist by trade. So carpentry and machine shop mix is kind of fun. Anyway, here we are so far, and as I continue on, I'll give you some more info. But pretty easy so far, and I'm in about 140 fasteners, and that's about it, and a few little braces, and it's definitely a budget project. Alright, talk to you later. Well, I got the radiator on there. It's just sitting there on a couple of blocks I made. A couple of fairings, pieces of fairing just for support. I mean, it's not going anywhere. Just to keep it from tipping over. I'm sure it's not going to go anywhere. It'll work. Didn't cost me anything. Couple of blocks for it to sit on so I could get the right height. That's about it. Everything seems to be lining up okay. So, we'll carry on. I think I'm done for today. Next time, I'll try to get the gauges on, and we'll see how far we can get next time. Okay. Here's a couple of cool things that I picked up cheap to help me with this run stand. This is a trio gauge set that I got on eBay. I think I paid $15 for this. It's got an oil pressure gauge, a water temperature gauge, and a volt gauge. $15 on eBay. Tachometer I got on Craigslist. Guy had one he wasn't using, 25 bucks. And then I got this neat throttle control cable thing for, I guess it's, you could use it for anything. Lawnmower or whatnot. 8 bucks at our local Benny's around here. So I think this is gonna pretty much finish it up. I just have to figure out where all these wires go. I think green goes to tack, black goes to ground, white and red is power and light. I think I'll research that. Can't remember exactly, it's been a while. Oh yeah, one other thing, it's kind of cool. was mounting, trying to figure out how to mount the battery, and I saved one of those goofy tops that come with the battery. I don't know why I saved it, but it's really neat. I screwed the top right down to the board, bolted it on, and now the battery just clips right in. Like that. So now I have a nice place to put my battery. And I found an empty threaded hole on my intake manifold. So I put the negative cable up here on there. And then on the positive cable, I'm just going to go from there, go behind that little brace, and tie in on the positive over here. I use the marine batteries, so I can use the wing nut connections to power other stuff if I need to. And I guess that's about it so far. Let's see. I'm a little bit afraid of the blade here. I'm going to have to put some kind of, maybe I'll have the gauges come up in front with some kind of platform here to block that blade from anyone touching that or getting close to it. I'll figure something out. Anyway, here's the run stand. It's coming. Nothing special. Not a big buck thing. But I bet it's going to work. And if not, oh well. I'll figure out where I went wrong and make it work. Alright, signing off. Till next time. I'm back. Here we go. Let's see. I ditched the radiator that I had because it was too small, because I wanted to use an electric fan that I had up in the loft. I haven't used in 10 years. I got rid of the fan blade spinning around here that was way too dangerous. I put an electric fan now on the back of the radiator. I found this radiator up in the loft. It's a little bit taller, so it worked out better for my little shelf for the gauges. Let's see. I had to swap out the oil pressure gauge because the one on the motor was electrical and this one is mechanical. No big deal. A little capillary line. Also, the water temperature sender is mechanical on this one. The one on the motor originally is electrical. But I had a nice port here to put it, so there's no big deal either. So that's the two, let's see, oil pressure and water temperature gauge. Now the ammeter gauge I hooked up. Power in from the battery. Power out to this cool little switch that I bought here, key switch. $9 at AutoZone. Keeping budget in mind. It's pretty cool. It's got an accessory port on it, so I can power the tack, I can power the choke, I can power anything I want from the key switch. Oh, plus I put a switch on the fan, toggle switch over here, so it doesn't have to draw constantly when I turn the key on. But it is key switched and toggle switched. That toggle switch is for the fan, and this button switch here is, if I get fancy, I'll hook the little lights up to the gauges just because I got nothing else to do. Right. Anyway, there's my little stand for the gauges. Just two 2x4s lagged into the end of the 4x4s. And then a 2x6 that I had laying around, lagged across the top. Here's my throttle control thingy. That's going to work out nice, I think. It seems to function really well. Thing is, I'm going to have to fabricate some kind of... I drilled a hole through the linkage on the carburetor. Now I'm going to have to fabricate some way to hold the sleeve in place. But I don't think it's going to be a big deal at all. And what else did I do? Let's see, I took the belt off for the power steering pump. Don't need that. And the wires are kind of messy, but next time you see it, it's going to be nice and neat. Tack wire going into the distributor. Power wire from the ignition switch going to the battery post. Looks pretty simple. Anyway. Alright, we'll carry on, and we should be firing this thing up today. At least that's my plan. Looking forward to it. Anxious and nervous. It's been a fun project though. It doesn't owe me much. A bunch of lags and some little brackets. Some cheap gauges I picked up. So, if you wanted the project to have some fun, this is it. And I know it's not going to go anywhere. Alright, I'll check in after. See how far I get on the gauges, and got to get some fluids in it. And I'll check back. Signing out. Alright, we're getting close now. I'm about ready to roll it out. I don't want to start it in the garage, just in case something goes wrong. Everything seems to be hooked up. I'm ready. Alright. I have a little diagram of the way I have it wired. I know it looks kind of complicated, it's really not. Only because I wired all the lights and stuff, it kind of looks like a cluster. But it's not bad. It's really easy. I haven't connected the ground wire yet, the cable, but everything else is connected. Not really sure where this goofy wire to the number 1 pin goes. I know the number pin wire jumps over for the regulator, but I'm just going to leave pin 1 out. See what happens. We'll see. I'm going to put mufflers on here just because. For the neighbors, I'll put mufflers on. Then I'll take them off for me. Unlike one YouTube video where the guy took the mufflers off for the neighbors just to piss them off. But I'm not going to do that. Anyway, here's my fuel cell. 5-gallon can. I put a little weight on the end of the hose so that it sits straight down in there. It's full of water, well, coolant. And I think I'm ready. Everything's wired. It's ready to go. All I gotta do, I'm gonna wait for a little help to roll it out. And next time you see this, it should be running. Engine run stand on a budget. Alright. We'll check back in next time. Next time you see it, should be running. I'll keep my fingers crossed. Okay, later. Okay, a couple things that I did that I wanted to point out. Made a couple of changes. Had a little problem. The heads I was using had porosity in them. So I had to swap out the heads. Now I'm using number 7A heads off of a 1972 350 Rocket. The chamber is just 2 cc's bigger than the other heads, so it shouldn't really change the compression ratio much. I did fabricate a bracket for the throttle. I just took one of those flat braces that I was using on the stand there and kind of cut it and bent it and drilled cut a little piece off, and then I laid this piece here on a flat piece of an anvil on a vise, and I put a pin under it, and I kind of just beat on it with a hammer, and it formed that radius so that the cable will sit straight through there. And I think it came out pretty good. Alright, we'll fire it up. Here we go. Alright, moment of truth. Will the engine run stand hold up? With the help of my trusty assistant Eric, my son, we're going to fire this up. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. It's amazing! How much vibration? This one's pretty smooth. Liking it. Oil pressure is good. Looking good. I don't see much vibration. A little bit. Not bad. Pretty happy with it. Run stand is just sitting there doing nothing. Alright, not overheating, looking good. I might have to mess with the timing a little bit, but everything works. It's even charging. I didn't know where to put the white wire, but as it turned out, I put a meter on the battery and it's charging, so I don't need to put that white wire anywhere. Number 2 wire jumps to the positive terminal for the battery. That's battery power there. Alright, what I might do next is throw the shaker on just for poops and giggles. See what it looks like with the shaker on it. But that's it. It's running, it's not shaking. Stand is stable. Like it. All right. I'm thinking it came out successful. Not a big deal, didn't cost me a lot of money. What I'm hoping is that if you watch the video and you want to go with this project, that you have as much fun as I did. It was pretty challenging, but it was rewarding, so I would do it again. Didn't cost me a lot of money. In fact, I have it broke down on paper here. I'll show you exactly the way I have it wired and the cost breakdown for the parts. The cost breakdown for the parts is pretty basic. I didn't spend a lot of money on this. In fact, the entire thing cost me about 130 bucks to put the stand together. The wiring was a little more challenging, but not really. Everything was, the key to the whole thing is the key switch. That's like the brain of it's like a breaker panel in your house. Everything goes into this, and then from that it goes out. So it's really simple from there. Start out with battery power, big cable to the starter. Battery post starter, big cable. Negative to ground on the block. I ran the ground to the alternator, onto the intake manifold. You run a number 10 wire from the alternator to the battery post, and you jump that post over to the number 2 pin on the alternator. Now this is a GM alternator. Pin 1 don't bother with, you don't need it. That's for an idiot light, I think, in the car. I'm not really positive. Okay, now from the battery you run the number 10 gauge wire to the ammeter in one side. Out of the other side goes to the battery post on the key switch. That powers the key switch, but it needs to go through the ammeter first. From the key switch, everything is pretty simple. It's got the solenoid pin that just run a number 10 wire right to the solenoid on the starter. The ignition, everything is powered when the key is on to the ignition pin or the accessory pin. You can use either one. I did wire the lights for the gauges. I used the accessory pins. It was no big deal. Now the distributor, you run from the ignition post on the key switch to the battery post on the distributor. The other pin on the distributor is for the tachometer. The green wire from the tach connects to the tach post on the distributor. Ground the tach. Now I ran the power to the tach with the red wire to the accessory pin on the key switch. Other than that, it was really simple. Everything fired up, shut off, it charged, looks good. If you need to, or you want to, call me, or not call me, but if you want to contact me, and if you have any questions about my Oldsmobile build-up, you can reach me at clay57@verizon.net, and I'll try to answer any questions I had. I'm just a novice. I have built a couple of motors in my garage. This one seems special to me because, unlike Chevy, this one is different. The heads are different. All the wires are above the exhaust, which I really like. It uses basic GM stuff. It's pretty easy. It's a GM HEI distributor, but it's special for Oldsmobile because Oldsmobile spins counterclockwise and Chevrolet spins clockwise, so they're not interchangeable as far as the distributors go, but cap, rotor, stuff like that is interchangeable. Other than that, I think it's good to go. So, I hope you have as much fun with this project as I did, and good luck.